Alright, I'm going to do a video on this stove in my shop. Me and my buddy Bruce built this probably about 5 years ago for one of the last, maybe the second to last winter before he went back to Vegas. Started out as a 250 gallon propane tank with a 10-inch, I don't know if it's a sewer pipe or something. I think it's a 10-inch pipe up there on top of it that was welded onto it. We cut a door in the side of it, a couple doors actually, but big door with a latch. This is kind of a rocket stove, but it's actually not a rocket stove. It's just a regular stove, but it does have an air intake. These ports at the bottom here, they come in underneath this deck that's in here. And I have a stainless steel grate in the bottom. So the air, when you shut these doors and shut the vents off, the air actually comes in from the bottom of the fire and comes in under the coals. So you get this thing ripping, man, and it really gets cooking. So it's kind of, I guess it's just a regular stove, but it's kind of taken some. You don't really see too many of them where the air comes in under the coals like that. But anyway, we got a ammo box. I think this is a mortar box for mortar rounds. It's a military ammo box on top of it. Hole sawed all these holes in here and put all this 2-inch pipe through the box. So the box is welded to the top of the stove. The heat and smoke go through the box. All right, we have another small ammo box up here, which is the clean out, so we can pop that door open and push the, clean the soot out of it and the, all the stuff that's in the chimney. And there's the exhaust pipe, goes outside. We got a blower motor on the back of this heat exchanger that we built, which is from a, a house fan, like a house blower motor. And that's running off this, ceiling fan switch, which they burn up. We usually get a couple years out of these because they're not really meant to run this type of blower. But as you can see, this thing really cranks. Turn that off. And this is the best way that we found to heat this shop, because this shop's just a tin building. It has absolutely no insulation, and I think it's 40 by 60. So there's a lot of open air in here. And we got some rotors and some flywheels stacked on here for thermal mass. We stack all of our long metal around it, some of it just to help block the heat from the wall, but also somewhere to put it where, the heat's not going to mess with it too bad. So it's a good place to store it. Yeah, this thing's crazy. It works really, really good. This is the best option that I could ever come up with, because before this we tried diesel, we tried all this other stuff, and it just nothing beats the radiant heat of wood, hardwood. Nothing beats it. I have this this tube here, this stainless tube. It goes to this cross fitting. We used to have an oil tank strapped up here on the pole. Yeah, we used to have an oil tank up here on the pole. It was strapped up here at ratchet straps or something, and we had a drip line that ran oil down here, used motor oil, and we would drip it through the stainless steel tube, and it would go in this pipe, and the pipe goes in the stove and then drips down into a pan that we had in there. And it just didn't produce enough heat, so we don't really use it anymore. But it had this squirrel cage on here, the squirrel cage from a air hockey table, I think, and I would bolt that squirrel cage on that pipe back there to kind of force air in with the oil, try to help atomize it or whatever. But we don't use it anymore because it's just too stinky and you got to mess with it too much, But this was to keep the oil from coking up in the stainless steel line, because we had it up here originally and it gets too hot up here and the oil actually boils in this line and it starts, turning into carbon, and it clogs it up. So this kept it from carboning up with the stainless steel line and the airflow, keeping this line, cooled off going in there. That way it didn't have time to boil the oil in the line. And then it would drip onto a hot plate in there. If you go online, you'll see some hot plate stoves that people built. I was trying to incorporate a bunch of different things into it and do some testing, but nothing beats wood, man. You get some good logs in there, and you can really stack this thing in there. Like, you can cut them 2 feet long and stand them up in there this way, you know, all the way around. Start the fire right in the middle. Man, you'll get like, you know, 2.5, sometimes 3 hours before you even got to throw a second load in there. And when it's ice cold in here, man, it really cranks out the heat. But let's see this. We had a drift pin on a hinge. You know, we built all this and pinned all that in there and cut a second door into it with a this has got a, you know, to block the air. This is an old wrench. You know, you can see the wrench on there. And all these air valves are adjustable. We made you know, cut slits in the pipe and made little flaps for them. You know, and we had a different handle on there, but I built this handle a couple years ago. It seemed to be working good. The biggest issue is keeping a gasket on here, because there's not really a groove for the gasket to go on there. We didn't like build a groove or anything like that. It's literally just cut the side of the tank open, and the curve of the tank is the door, and then we put some backing, you know, plated metal from the inside to back it and put a gasket on. I usually got to change the gasket every year or two. I think we're on a second winter for this gasket, but it probably won't make it the whole year. Yeah. So that's it. A mortar box for our heat exchanger, some thermal mass, 250 gallon propane tank, and a whole bunch of wood. A little bit of stainless for the grate. Alright. Figured I'd make a video on this. I wish I was making videos back then, because I could have made a build series out of this thing. But I figure that's it. Let me open it up again. I'll show you the drip pipe that's in there real quick. Hold on, I gotta put my glove on. Yeah, the pipe's still in here. Can you see it? There we go. Okay, so that pipe comes in, and then you see that pipe in the middle is the stainless steel line, and that would drip down. You see this bracket and the pipe over here on this side of the stove? That would drip. That would swing. We had a rotor in there and a flywheel that we would swing out underneath that, and it would drip onto that hot piece of metal. So we could burn some wood underneath the plate, but then still have like a little fire up here going. But we ran into issues where, you know, the fire under it is consuming all the oxygen for this fire. So it's like one of those things, you know. I'll go outside and show you guys the chimney too. It's simple, you know, simple chimney, but I'll go out there and show it anyway. Yep. And we don't really choke this stove down. This stove, because we're in this steel building, I just run it full tilt, man. You know, it don't really get choked down at all. All right, let me go outside and check out the exhaust. All right, here's the chimney. We got some stainless steel straight pipes from the diesel farm one day, so I used them. This 90 we pretty much got to change every other year. Get 2 seasons out of it. And I think next time I'll buy a stainless one. They're like 60 bucks. And a piece of stainless up top. Just fold it over, you know, as the chimney. And we also built this bracket on here. Had to fabricate that up to bolt to the building. And instead of buying one. Plus it was like a custom distance away from the building, so we just made it. But that's it. You know, she works really, really good.